Yes, people, my name is Yamin Chaudhry and I am the Artistic Director of the Hackney Empire. This conversation is brought to you by Hackney Empire and Hackney Empire Creative Futures. Hackney Empire Creative Futures works with 4,000 young people a year using music, dance, drama, film, design, and everything in between to explore our potential. And today I'm having a conversation with one of my good friends, a young lady who I have a huge amount of love and respect for. We bonded straight away as soon as we were introduced by a mutual friend of ours, and we'll get into all of that. But I'm here with Bisola Popoola, and Bis created an incredible company called Safe House London. She's going to tell us all about that. But before we get that, Bis, how are you today?
Oh, what a beautiful intro, yeah.
I rehearsed that.
All love and respect back to you. I'm good. I'm staying positive, as positive as I can. You know me. So yeah, I say if I can describe myself in one word right now, it's just positive.
You're one of them people in my life that keeps me positive. So when I'm feeling a little bit low, yeah, I call up Bis and I'm like, Bis, it's all terrible, and you told me to have hope and you know, and make that, and that's why I've got so much love for you, because you've always just been a really calming influence on me, and you know, I get a bit too excited sometimes. But Bis, for people that don't know you, give us your background, tell us a bit about yourself.
Okay, so currently I am a fashion and music PR/consultant, but I'm swaying more into consultancy and coming a little bit away from PR after it for 10 years. I'm also founder of my currently non-profit organisation, Safe House. And I'm actually executively producing my very first documentary alongside a new independent film company run by a super cool guy called Mike Silver. So that's me in a nutshell. But there's so many.
That's amazing. Factors. I didn't know you were doing that.
Yeah,
I'm finding this out for the first time. That's amazing. I love that.
Yeah.
So before we even get onto any of that stuff though, Safe House London, just tell us about Safe House London, because I want everybody to know about this organisation that you've started.
So Safe House London is basically that the ethos and the aim is to support with the development and to provide opportunities for young people within and outside the creative industry. It is targeted particularly for young males. However, it doesn't put any boundaries or barriers to any young females, because obviously I was one myself. But I have, since I've recognised, been very, very, I don't know, it's not lenient. I just had a really soft spot for males, and I feel like they have it hard, man. They have it hard. So I wanted to introduce something that I thought I could transfer my skills through my experience growing up and support them. So far we've hosted 5 amazing projects, but I'm sure we'll get into some of those.
100%.
And I guess I saw it as, in my mind, it was like a triangle. I saw young people, or a triangle of dots. So young people, emerging talent, and high profile people. And I thought, how can we connect these dots, but in an authentic and cool and creative way? And also this whole idea of humility, we need to bring that back. There's too much negative vibes going on around, and I'm not even trying to sit here and preach and whatnot, because that's not my style. I just feel like, you know what, if I can do anything to help, I will. And I've seen that my work can be effective, so I'm trying my best. So yeah, that's where we're currently at.
I think anybody who sees Safe House London's work knows that it's effective. You know, it's not a difficult thing to convince people of. And also, I want to go back to what you were just saying about actually identifying young men from a. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I'm guessing from particular demographics, whether they're vulnerable or at risk, etc.
Yeah.
And it's not about, and I know that you and I have had this conversation, it's not about saying this is more important than anything else, but this is what I can focus on and where I feel really I can make an impact without putting words into your mouth. because I don't want people to say, oh, well, why isn't she helping young women? Or why isn't she helping? But because it's not about that. And I think too often we hone in too much on somebody who's just trying to do some good in the way that they can and say, well, why aren't they helping me? And I don't think we should have to feel defensive about saying, I've got this thing, this idea that could be really effective, and I know how to do this. And it's something I feel passionately about to make that happen. And it's something it's something that resonated with me when you said young men to me. Obviously, growing up, you know, a boy in areas like Tottenham and Wood Green and places like that. I've never felt so alone, surrounded by so many people than when I was like 14, 15. And that's why what you do and what Safe House London does, it like hits something in me. Is that the response that you've had from a lot of the people that you work with?
It's been a interesting experience, because almost like when the idea came to my mind, I didn't actually know at first what was going to happen. Obviously, we're coming into 2 years now, and just to give people a little bit of background, I've grown up in Hackney all my life, so I'm almost 30 years old, and I've been around many different people, and somehow the idea came to me. And then as we started to roll out some of the projects and the more conversations I'm having about collaborations, all the rest of it, they're linking straight to males who are going to teach younger males. And the next couple of events, you see that. And some of the events so far, you will see that. And as we continue to grow, that will obviously continue to highlight what the aim of Safe House is. The response has been amazing. At first, like you said, you do feel alone. And you feel like, why am I doing this? Or who am I, like you said, to do, like, who do I think I am coming into this thinking I can save the world? No, that's not my intention. Like I said, I grew up, when I was like 11, right through till I was 16, I used to hang out in the square. And you look, I'm a very observant person. So sometimes, a lot of the time, we'll be like innocent young girls and boys just, you know, in the area, whether it be in parks, water fights, adventure playgrounds, youth clubs. I just remember sometimes I would just kind of step back, or my mind would kind of do a little, I don't know, I'd kind of zone out from where I am, and then just kind of zone in onto a person. It's usually the males that I'd see, almost it felt like they were shadowing who they really were, or they were trying to protect who they really were. And then it was like, what felt like overnight is that they'd gone from like having fun and being innocent and dancing to music videos to click of a finger, and I've got a whole bunch of responsibilities. I need to support my family, I need to support my siblings, I need to support my friends in the ends they basically become family, and everything changes, everything becomes whatever they choose to go down. It's just sad to watch, because they were once just the young boys just hanging about in the area, and then all of a sudden all the pressures, the societal and home pressures hit them, and I was one to witness it.
So, I don't think we have enough conversations about the desperation that can be born out of being born poor. And I don't mean there's obviously, there are people starving and there are people who are homeless and et cetera, et cetera. But experiencing poverty or deprivation, whatever that means to you, and particularly like for me, growing up in a really insular, inward-looking, compact estate, things kind of, information spreads like wildfire. And I remember this coming of age moment where I realized I can't afford this, but I want it. And my mum can't provide it for me. So how am I going to do this? And because that process started in my head, the only options I had available to me were X, Y, Z. And so I just went down the road that was most natural. And I think that that's a journey that I think a lot of people would empathize with and understand. And then that's a journey that can take you to some very dark places. And these young boys and girls who you're talking about, suddenly their characters are, it's like night and day to the little kid that you used to know.
And that was just very...
Go on.
Yeah, that I was saying, that was just, it was sad to see. It was sad to see, and yeah.
It obviously had a massive impact on you, and one of your projects that really struck a chord with me was the gift drive that you held. Was it this Christmas? I think it was this Christmas.
It's now an annual, so we've done our second one.
Oh, it's your second one. Okay, so this was the first one that I kind of really knew about, and I just loved it. Yeah, there was something just magical about it and very powerful about it. So tell us about the model. What kind of events and opportunities are you creating for young people with SafeHeart?
Okay, so the whole concept behind the projects, it taps into either a nostalgia of me growing up. So say, for example, we have something called the Ride and Dine, where we used to, we ride bicycles. I actually collaborate with a young guy who's recently come from, not recently actually, he came out from prison. His name's Temi, shout out to him as well. And he found a passion in cycling. And that's something that we used to love doing in the ends. We used to go from different areas on our bikes. And I wanted to tap on that nostalgia and bring it back to, because people don't get together. Young people don't get together enough. They don't socialize enough because they're scared to do it. And when they do, it's not always just like party vibes. We need other stuff that are gonna, you know, let's just have some fun, some good old school fun. So we got the Ride and Dine, and then, like you said, the Christmas present drive. So that was actually inspired by my line of work. So as a PR, what I used to see is when it came to Christmas time, we would arrange products for gifting to journalists, writers, celebs, whoever, whatever have you. And I remember going to certain drop-off points or depots when I was interning years back. And you go with like all your bags to add to the whole bunch of stuff they've got in these depots. And and I looked one day and I was thinking, rah, there's so much stuff here. Yeah. We're talking designer this, designer that. Too much stuff. And it was, I think that day must have been like the 23rd of December or the 21st, something like that, near my birthday. And I walked away thinking, right, does this actually get distributed before Christmas? And these guys, not in a rude way, like, they got the P anyway, like, they got the money. They don't need it. They don't need it. So when I was thinking, I'd definitely do something around like selfless giving around Christmas. I remember growing up in an African household, we only recently started celebrating Christmas in our house. It wasn't like a big celebration in our home. So I remember going back to school certain times after the Christmas holidays. Everyone's like, oh, what did you get? What did you get? I was like, well, I didn't really get anything because we didn't really celebrate Christmas in my house. And it was like my aunt that introduced it. And then I kind of once again connected some dots in my brain. I was like, what can I do around Christmas to help people in the community? So, you know, I have great relationships with people in the fashion industry, and they were supportive of giving bits because they knew that they had the capacity to do it, to give. So for like 2 weeks prior, we rounded up presents and they delivered it to the spot that we host the present drive in, and then we wrap them up. And then we have a day where it's literally like a drop-in, like come in, chill, might want to play a little console, have something to eat. But the whole idea is that you come in, it doesn't matter how long you spend, you pick up a present. And the looks on their faces was the most rewarding thing for me because it didn't take a lot. I saw
the footage. The footage was emotional.
And it was just, because I know there's plenty of other people that probably go through the same thing where Christmas and they go back to school and they ain't got nothing. And we were given loads of things, like sick things, like, you know, Beats headphones, Nike vouchers, trainers, all the rest of it. Like some good stuff that, you know, I'm sure young people would love. And that's another thing as well. I didn't want to give, as we were wrapping them, if I don't feel like it'll be something of value. It's like, you know, I'm all for secondhand goods and like recycling all the rest of it. However, I feel like, what would you give to your child? And that's what I wanted to make very, very important. The quality in the goods that we were giving to these young people. They're not secondhand. These are important people. These are our future. So I wanted to do my little piece in giving something to them, and that is like by far my favourite event of every year.
Yeah, I can't wait to get involved with that this year. I definitely want to get more involved with that and figure out how I can help with that.
Expand that a little bit as well.
Say again?
We're looking to expand on it either this year or next year.
So let's quickly say, what do you need? What do you need? How can people help with that? Just quickly.
With the present drive.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I'll be honest with you. It's money. Safe House needs money. And I remember when I first started doing a lot of these funding forms and all the rest of it, and I got so many no's back. And as per, once again, my job as a PR, you have to get comfortable with this whole idea of rejection, of people not wanting to also understand on the other flip side that it wasn't meant to be. It's meant to be done this way. So funding, we got loads and loads back. And then we started going through donations. And then we was able to provide for every single event. So
amazing.
If we have the budgets in place, we can execute anything.
Yeah. And
also, if we don't have the budget, we can still make it work. It doesn't stop it from happening, because I'm one of the people where I've grown up from and having the parents I have, I can make anything work. But the money is necessary to do a good job at it.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I think that's the one of the main things that connected you and I early on was a very clear passion for wanting to create powerful interventions for young people in whatever way we can. And so when this video gets uploaded later today, for people who are watching this, I know it's only a small platform, but together we are powerful. I believe in this. I believe in Safe House London. If we can help, let's figure out a way. We're going to get your contact details before the end of this video, but please, people, if you can help, let's help. I'm going to track back though. So again, something you and I have in common is that, without being arrogant, we had successful commercial entertainment and arts careers and then decided to go into more community-based work. And for a lot of people, when they hear that, they look at me like I'm crazy. I'm guessing they probably look at you the same way. From going to having disposable income to no income, but feeling very ethically rewarded. Going from the PR and stuff like that, and I know how much you prioritize Safe House London on a day-to-day basis. What triggered that for you of saying, actually, I want to start giving back, or I want to do this?
Okay, so it was over a period of time. So basically, when I left uni, I went straight into my first one. I chose a graduate internship at what would say it was actually one of the top 5 agencies in London, a PR agency called Modus. And I was there for 3.5 years, 4 years. And I remember one of those feelings that every day I walked into the office, and it was where you can spot in about 80 to 100 people, about 5 Black people. And for me, that was already a shock. So we're going back 10 years ago. It's about 2021, yeah. And that was my first experience of being uncomfortable in area. You know, going from my area where we have like different minorities, different races in my area, but being in a working environment was completely different. You know, off Regent Street, that's where I was based for the first time, and all these new things are happening. It's happening quite quickly. I wasn't ready for it. In my mind, I wasn't ready for it, but I was just being prepared onto the next level of what, it was the right path for me, but it was very uncomfortable to start off with. Then I dotted around between maybe 7 to 8 years, 5 different PR agencies. And I said along the way that I wanted to go in-house, which means you go from working in a PR agency where you work on multiple brands at once to working solely on one. And I said I wanted to be a menswear brand because that's where my passion lied. Once again, you can see this kind of flow of like men, young people. Yeah. It's just the way it goes. Menswear and an emerging brand. And I wanted to start tapping into music. So I always had this conflict of fashion and music as a young child. I wanted to actually be a music director when I was younger. So so I had this flow that I wanted to eventually tap into music. And then I saw that Tiny had released his latest collection. He'd done his debut of his collection called What We Wear. And
Tiny Temper. For people that don't know, this is referring to Tiny Temper.
So I was like, these products are sick. And in my mind, and also I spotted him along the way, because some of the catwalk shows that we work on, he was one of the first Black people to attend them. And I thought that was very, very sick for a Black man to be in those spaces. So you could kind of see each other along the way. One of my previous agencies, we had to sort some products out for his music videos. So you can kind of see how the wave starts to flow is going. And then his cousin, I happen to know his cousin. We have mutual friends. And usually I'm quite at the time, I see my dad's quite prideful. So I kind of carried that trait for a while. So I'll be like, no, I'm not really going to say too much. What if he says no, this whole idea of rejection again? And then somebody just told me this, like, what have you got to lose? There's clearly something here. You like what you see, and what's to say you couldn't achieve it? So I reached out to him, and then within 5 months, we started to work together. So I ended up coming on board as the PR for Tiny's brand, What We Wear. And that whole environment is very similar to the fashion industry. But once again, there's so many characters and so many things that are glamorized, and to say like polished with a paintbrush, like, oh yeah, let's wrap this up, make it look beautiful, send it out to the world. The media are going to do this with it and make it even look more pretty. But there's a whole lot of stuff that goes on underneath that not many people know about. You know, everyone wants to be a music artist. Everyone wants to be, well, the majority wants to be in the entertainment business. But there's a lot of, in my opinion, there's a lot of bad stuff that goes on in there as well. When I say bad, in terms of like, not bad like you don't want to be involved in it. It's more people's characters. People move funny. I'll be honest, people move funny. I didn't understand how people lose that sense, or some people, lose that sense of authenticity.
And I think a lot of these industries, they make you selfish. You know what I mean? Yeah. And they make you, and it's also driven by success and money and all of this kind of stuff. And there's nothing wrong with ambition, but that's what makes people like you even rarer, because you've been around very, very high profile people. You've been around very high profile brands. You were beginning to be extremely successful in your own right within the PR sector. And so that's what I want to break down. Like, what was it about you, or what was it about what you were seeing that shifted you across?
Purpose started to, after a certain amount of years, so basically the purpose of my job as a PR is to storytell. I love writing, and you're able to package about the collections that's being presented. You tell the story of why that person or why that brand has decided to put something out. Then there's event management, then there's writing press releases, then there's like coming up with ideas for campaigns, and then there's all this gifting and who we should gift and who represents this brand. There's so many things that goes on within PR. And I felt like I got to a point where my purpose wasn't being fulfilled. I went in autopilot. I felt like I could just do things, because after almost 10 years, it just became repetitive. There was enough shows, and I think quite quickly, the whole idea of like this whole catwalks, it didn't, after maybe probably 4 or 5 years, I was over it. I don't like the whole idea of hierarchy, VIPs in one block, sitting for one place, like top editors from then you have the rest of the people in the back. That doesn't make sense to me, because that's not where I come from. So I felt like the reason why I wanted to transition, the biggest part of it was I was finding out my purpose. I understand I like being around people. I love communicating with people. I love helping people. And that's what made it easy for me. And also as well, I got my value and my worth back. I gave it away for a period of time. I gave it away and I took it back, and I said, Bis, do what makes you happy. And I haven't looked back since the beginning of last year. I haven't looked back.
That makes so much sense to me. Like, that I have a background in commercial music. I was doing good stuff, I think. And I was making very, very decent money for my age at the time. But there was something about just being part of a machine where I couldn't really see how I was affecting people, that wasn't ticking my boxes anymore. And then I'd go back to where I was living at the time in North London, in Hackney, and I'd see the people around me and I'd go, oh, for as much as my situation has changed, I haven't changed the situation that I grew up in, that I saw so many problems in every day. And at that point, I knew I had to try harder, because I needed, you know me, I get a lot of validation from my work, and it's hard to admit that. But when I'm working for a millionaire, you don't get the same feeling of impact that you do when I'm working on the front lines with young people,
Exactly.
or with artists, you know, who are underrepresented, blah, blah, blah. So in a lot of ways, it's selfish for me to be able to do what I do. And I consider myself very lucky. But it's still not a decision that makes sense to a lot of people, I think.
Yeah, I feel like this sort of conversation, it's going to take a long time, because even I don't feel like I've been able to explain to the depths I've really wanted to, and that's why I kind of hope through Safe House and our projects I'll be able to obviously do the work that I've been called to do, but also share my story, because it has a lot of layers to it. And you know, it was great working for OEM. For some people, they'll be like, oh my gosh, that's like a dream job to them.
Yeah.
And it was a dream job for me, because at some point that was my dream, to work for a mentor brand. I'm not blessed to work with him. But I also believe that celebrities and high profile people are human beings. They once came from a background very similar to ours. And it's very, very possible for anyone to do what they do. It's just the main difference between us and them is money. And you know, once again, money can make people do crazy things, not necessarily in that context, but I'm just saying in general, like even like down to my local friend, like people that you grow up with. These are most things that happen in family problems. It's money. That's the root to most things. Actually, really and truly tap into who you are. Go for what you believe in. Put money aside. What is your heart like?
And funnily enough, that's what gets a lot of people in these positions in the first place.
Exactly.
Like when you're talking about Tiny and people like that, it was really following his passion and his dreams and his beliefs and what made him happy that put him in the position of being a successful businessman now.
Yeah.
And so going back to that, because this is something that, again, another thing that we have in common is a real drive to encourage people with visibility and platforms and celebrity, or whatever you want to call it, to invest back in the community, whether it's when they came from or not. How is that process for you, without blowing up our spots too much and making us unpopular with certain people? Has that been easy? Is it difficult to get people? Is there a certain type of person that's always willing to give back? What is that like for you?
Wait, sorry, you're gonna have to come back a little bit. What's the question? What's the actual question?
So like, I really struggled to get even certain people who I grew up with profile to come back and invest in the kids again now.
Okay.
And then there are other people who it's really easy. And it shocks me still sometimes. And I'm not going to name anybody. I don't want to like blow up anybody's spot, but I find it difficult. I find it difficult to negotiate those relationships. How is that for you?
Sure. I think that, you know, what's very interesting even about that is working with Titan. He's very much he was really big on giving back to young people, which was also like a blessing of working with him, because you know, I only found that out when I started working with him. So that was amazing in his respects. But once again, to not maybe mention any names, but if I take it back to when I starting in the fashion industry, it's the same with everything. You are reaching out to people, and that's that whole idea of like, I remember we had things called like call times, where you have to spend an hour a day calling people and pitching products to place in the magazine or online or whatever it may be. And that felt strange to me. It was actually one of the scariest things I've ever done, picking up a phone to a stranger and saying, look, hey, how you doing? Oh, do you mind? Because everyone has an agenda in the day, but it's how you pitch it. But once again, I feel like you need to be working in an environment where you are passionate about the brand, passionate about who you're working for, and if it's not for someone else, yourself. So back to your question, Zoe, when you're reaching out to someone, when I was reaching out to someone, I tried to be as authentic as possible. And taking into consideration with high profile people, they got a lot going on. I've noticed that. And in most cases, I don't believe it is personal.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, I feel like they're trying to do what they have been called to do. And sometimes that doesn't fit with the plans that you have for them to support what you're doing. However, I do also believe that there are a lot of people who do make time. We just don't know about it.
I'm with you on that.
Dealing with it is another thing. I think before I used to take it personal. I think, why would this person want to help me, or or like it's not fair, like they could do this, Then later on down the line, I thought to myself, no, whoever is supposed to support you in whatever you're doing will. That goes facts. And I say that with every project I've done, our collaboration, we did at the Empire, and we had the likes of Getz, Femi, and some of my great friends, a guy called Babs and Ashley growing up. So that whole idea of like
crossover,
the dots between emerging talent and high profile, everything fits the way it's supposed to. So no matter how many no's you hear, the yes you heard is the one that was supposed to be. If it's just out of 10, if you wanted the whole 10 and you end up with one, that's better than none. And your mind might have opened up to like 10 people you really, really wanted to be involved. But I felt like if that project was only for that one person, that's the way it was supposed to be. And you just have to move forward, because you can't carry the weight of the unknown. You can't, I really, really wanted, and you invested so much, and then they're like, nah. And I don't think it is personal because it's something you're passionate about. Don't take that away from yourself. But at that time, it wasn't meant to be. I handle it a lot better now because, like I said, I had to deal with a lot of rejection in life. So I've had to overcome it and just flip it. There's no point being negative. Don't find solutions. I don't find solutions.
I still take it very personally a lot of the time, but I'm more understanding now. I think I used to take it personally in the sense that I had this chip on my shoulder, like, well, I'm doing all of this. Can't you just give me a little bit of your time? And you're local, and we know so many people in common. But I know that that's a very narrow-minded way of looking at it, and people have obligations and commitments that we just don't even know exist. But if we could encourage people to do as much as they can, then I think that's all we can ask for. And,
I agree.
And I'm very grateful to a lot of people who have given their time to me and Hackney Empire and even Safe House London. That was a great event that you put on, the first event that that Hackney Empire had anything to do with Femi and Getz and them lot. I thought that was a fantastic event. So our time is up already, Bis, but we need to talk about two more things very, very quickly. And I think we just need to make it really obvious. Why is it important for us to support our young people now, maybe more than ever? Why do you feel like that? Why are you so passionate about work with young people?
I am passionate about young people because they are the future. And the whole point of young people and generation, should we say, is to make the world a better place. And I believe that we've got to start from our community. I'm from a community where a lot of people go left and more than they go right. And I'm not saying there is a right way, but more people need to start going down that route and not following the same cycle. And I think for me, there's so much potential. There's too much even potential right on my doorstep. And for me, I just can't sit back and just let people just pass by. Yeah. So it is very, very important to me. It's something that my dad has instilled in me. He's like a second dad to a lot of my friends and a lot of my guy friends. So I'm kind of just continuing what he started. My dad basically said to me that I'm doing what he wanted to do, but I now have it on paper. So that was my biggest reward in it, and that's why I'll continue to do it. Amazing. And I love working with them. They're great. They're talented, super, super talented. Sometimes I chat to my little brother. He spits out stuff, and I'm like, "Raw, like, how do you know that? You're 15. Doesn't make sense."
Yeah, I'm with you. I get some of my most joy. I'm lucky enough to have had a good career already and worked on some amazing high-profile projects with amazing people. But nothing gives me more joy than working with young people and seeing the effects of our work with them. I don't know if anything ever will. Or having a breakthrough with someone. where you see a wall come down and trust start to build.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And secondly, just before we finish, we're both working with young people who are really struggling right now. What can we say to them to help them? Is there anything we can say to them to help them? I don't even know if that question has an answer.
To me, I think it's hard to say things to people. If you can't, I think once again, the whole idea of not being able to be connected to them makes it even more harder, because, you know, they're not gonna, I'll be honest, I doubt there's many young people listening to us right now, because at the end they're on a screen. I'm sure there's so many
100%.
other distractions they could be on, whether it's games or and YouTube, whatever. Like, I think it's hard to say, and as I said, how I support my young people at the moment is I just check in on them every week. I think that whole idea of nurturing and just being there for somebody is so important to me, and just having an ear in case someone does have something to say. I'm hearing it. That's my ethos during this time, because they're never really you have to make them feel comfortable to talk to you. And I think it's a very difficult time to understand whether someone's telling the truth or not, for whatever reason.
Being open.
Exactly. So I think it's just letting people know that, you know, we are here if you do need someone to talk to, or if you do need things to help you get by. Other than that, I think it's just we wait until the other side. Patience.
I think that's crucial. Organizations like Safe House London, organizations like Hackney Empire are around. They want to help. Reach out to people in these organizations. Same thing, reach out, make yourself available a little bit. Just try to support people. And if you're not from East London, if you don't live local, there is an organization out there for you. There's somebody local, there's somebody who cares, there's somebody who wants to help. Holler us. If we can help find people, let us know.
Always willing to help.
Yeah, you know, love will get us through this in many ways. It sounds corny. I know it sounds corny.
It's the truth.
It's the truth. Yeah, you know what I mean. 100%. So please just know that there are people out there who care and want to help. And if we can help, please let us help. Bis, you're a champion. You're a superhero in every way, shape, and form. Where can the people then find you and Safe House?
So our Safe House Instagram is safehouse.ldn. If you want to drop us an email, feel free. It's info@safehouselondon, as in LDN once again, .com. And my IG, I mean,
Don't give it out. Don't give it out. Hold your things close.
You'll find out is I'm still getting used to all this kind of stuff. So
I think the beautiful thing about social media is that at times like this, it lets you stay in touch with people.
Yeah.
But as the flip side with that is with everything, it's like your ride or die scheme is that it can make you insular. So even when you can go out and, like you're saying, old school, go check someone, go do something, you might be spending your time on Twitter and Insta. And I think something goes missing in these connections. Even when I'm texting people or phoning people, it's not the same. And even me and you having this conversation, as much as I love you and love having these conversations, it's not the same as a physical connection that's live.
Empire Bar.
At the Empire Bar, shout out Empire Bar, which has made many, many lattes and cappuccinos for me and Bis in our meetings. Bis, thank you so much. You know I love you. You're my sis, and I look forward when all of this is done to making much more content together. Do you have plans coming up for the other side with Safe House? Are you just going to start activating?
We actually was rolling out our next event in the middle of April. So that's going to be back on track. It's going to be a very, very sick event, actually. I'm really, really looking forward to it. And it's going to be close by to you.
And is your website ready yet, or it's not quite ready yet?
Not yet.
So as soon as the website is ready, though, Hackney Empire will tweet that. We'll get that on Facebook and on our website and make sure that you guys can find it there. Bis, thank you so much.
Thank you, Yamin.
Thank you all for watching. As I said, this conversation has been brought to you by Hackney Empire and Hackney Empire Creative Futures. We hope you're staying safe. We hope you and your loved ones are well. And in fact, we know last week we had a lot of young people in a lot of difficult circumstances. What we'll do is we'll put some stuff in the description below of resources that you can access that you might not even know exist, or you might not know would be open during this time. So check out below if you do need support. We'll try to link up some useful resources for you. Like, comment, let us know what you want next, and we look forward to seeing you very, very soon for our next In Conversation with Bis. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Boom.